Hello everyone. It's Amber Carlton with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Premier Properties, and I am here today to do Real Estate Basics episode 24. And today we're going to talk about home values, how we determine home values, what some of the online valuation systems are, how they come up with their value, factors that they take into consideration, their accuracy, and the seller's role in determining the home's value. So we're going to dive right in. Please ask any questions throughout this segment as they come up. I am more than happy to answer any of those. And if you're watching this recorded later, please still shoot me a message if you have any questions. More than happy to answer them. So let's start with the online algorithms, okay? Hey Dave, how's it going? So you could see the Zestimate on Zillow. There's many different online revenues that will say, click here to know what your home is worth. How do those work, right? So the most common way, especially if it's just gonna spit you a number right back, is an algorithm. And each of those sites is going to have a little bit different of an algorithm, but that is just a mathematical equation on the back end that takes into consideration what your home last sold for, what it was last listed for. If it's currently listed, that will factor into the number it's giving you. It takes into consideration a lot of the times the tax assessed value, which depending on where you live and what type of market we're in, those tend to be lower usually. Now, as things settle and shift, that might shift too. And right when they do that new assessment, then it comes up closer to what your value is, and sometimes even over for the tax assessed value, but it all evens out in the end. In general, when I'm looking at those, they tend to be lower than what the home is actually worth when I dig in and I'm doing my market analysis. So anything online in those scenarios, it's most likely just going to be an algorithm spitting you back a number. There are some that take it to another level and they say, enter your information here to know what your home is worth. And that could be one of two things. It could be an agency like HomeLight that pairs realtors to people looking to buy and sell real estate. And they at that point refer that on to a real estate agent in that market, and they get them in contact with the person directly to say, hey, you know, this is what you're looking at. If you'd like to know more, I can put together an actual in-depth analysis for you and we can go over that. Another option there is some realtors actually have their own landing pages, and that is that's a way to get people in too. So what would you like to know what your home is worth? Okay. They enter in their information, we then reach out and say, okay, tell me a little bit more, get that information, and we go onto our computers and start doing some homework. So things that I personally look at when I'm doing a home evaluation. I'm gonna start by pulling up the tax assessment right away. I wanna know what the county or city has assessed your property at. And then I also wanna know what you have for specials, if you have anything else that I need to factor into the equation. So that's kind of my starting point. I will look to see what Zillow puts on it just to see where they're landing on things. Looking at the algorithms of Zillow or RPR is just interesting to me. I want to see where they're landing, and the odds are someone has already, the person wanting to know what their home is worth has already looked at that, so I want to know the same information they know. I then go and I do my actual in-depth market evaluation where I sort through anything that's closed. I'm also looking at what's active, and I'm flipping through all the photos, trying to size up as best as I can what properties are going to be the most comparable. So if we have a 2-story home and we're in town, we're going to be going off of that same 2-story. One thing to keep in mind is if you're in town specifically, you're going to want to stay, hey Shelby, you're going to want to stay within the exact style of home. And when we say style, we are talking about 1-story, 2-story, 3-level split, 4-level split, bi-level. how the home is laid out, because those all run a little bit different cost. So we want to look at those specifically as they are, and that's what the appraisers are going to do too. Now, if we get out of town, if we get into a luxury property, we might be able to get a little more creative there. Out of town, especially rural property, I'm going to be focused more on the acreage and the comparability of the home than the style as much, especially if it's like a 1.5 story versus a 2 story. But that's all really getting in the weeds and detailed out, which we do. We dive really deep into it. We're either going to go out and walk through the property. That is what we prefer to do. Get out there, walk through the property, take really thorough notes, especially if you have, which everyone has certain things about their home that make it stand out. We want to take note of those things and price those out in the valuation as well, especially with luxury and lakes properties. So we're going to go through and list everything down and then size that up with what has sold. And we're also going to look at pending, but we don't want to base anything off of the homes that are pending because we don't know what it's going to sell for. So that's kind of going off of false information. We want to look at actives to make sure we're not going to come out and be the most aggressively priced, especially compared to what else is out there for active properties. So looking at those two and sending those over so that everyone can look through photos and kind of size up, see where their property lands. And then we all sit down together. This is where seller comes in. We all sit down together and go through a pricing strategy. It's never just here's the dollar amount your home is worth, and this is what it's worth, this is what it'll sell for. There's almost always a range of value. As to what that home will sell for, and then there's a strategy behind that too. Do we want to price at the top to not undersell, to make sure you're getting every dollar that's out there, or do we want to price more competitively and try and drum up multiple offers? I would say that whole strategy is starting to shift now, for sure, compared to where it was in the spring. In the spring, it was like you're listing at top and you're still getting multiple offers. In this current market, we probably want to be lowering that price point to drum up more buyers, just because the volatility of the interest rates and stuff has caused buyers to kind of ease, which is good. Our market needs to regulate a little bit, but we need to be thinking about that going forward. So it's all that we do is give you the numbers and give you the facts and say, here's where you are. And then to your seller, you come in and say, I want to go for this route or I want to go for that route. And we come up with a plan together on how to get you the most exposure and how to go about marketing your property at that price. So I don't know how well versed all of you are or are not as to how pricing works for real estate. It's not cut and dry. It's not just like, this is the number, like on a pair of Nikes at Shields, this is what they're for sale for. It's not like that at all. And everyone's going to have a different situation as for timeline and what they're willing to do, what they're not willing to do. And there's kind of good and bad to everything, just like life. If you want to try for more, sometimes you have to hold tight a little bit longer. If you want to get it gone faster, then you're going to price accordingly. So when you're seeing like price improvements and things like that out there too, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the home. It means that the market has shifted a little bit and the seller wants to make it the best chocolate in the box for the buyers to come out and take advantage of that and get that home. So I hope that helps. I feel like I just rambled a whole bunch about this, but hopefully that helps open your eyes as to how we do pricing. Every realtor is going to do it a little bit different. Some are going to go more heavily on the conservative side for pricing. Some are going to gear you more toward pricing toward the top and not risking you lose that money. Ultimately, it's 100% your decision as to how you want to price and how you want to go about that game plan. The most important thing is knowing your range, communicating well with your representation, and making sure to kind of stick to that game plan and see it through. yeah, if you have any questions about any of this or any other types of pricing scenarios that I might not have covered, please let me know. But the online, to recap, online where you're just getting a Zestimate or anything like that, or even RPR has a similar thing, that's just an algorithm. The things where you fill out your contact information to see what your home is worth, that is actually going to pair you back to a realtor, either through a connection of an online source like HomeLight or Realtor.com or Zillow, or through an actual realtor's webpage themselves where they've got that information out there. And then lastly, that how we look at it is looking at it from a multitude of different angles and getting onto our multiple listing service, and actually sitting there grinding out, looking at all the photos, looking at all the details, and trying to line it up as close as we can. And we do have different adjustments that we factor into to make sure, no home is going to have the exact same square footage. Most likely they won't. Some do, but it's pretty rare. Might be missing a bedroom or something like that, and we can adjust for that to get the price as close as we can. But it will still be that range depending on condition and a few other factors. So look at the range, see what's right for you. If you ever have questions on how any of this works, please let me know. Hey, Dustin, feel free to put any questions and comments or message me directly. And also, if you guys have anything you want to hear about in December, let me know. Next month is, for November, I'm going to do for episode 25, an update on our 21-year stats. They have changed quite a bit in the past 2 years, so I want to get that updated. And that is what you have to look forward to for November. So let me know what you want to hear about, and you guys have a great day. Take care.